Okay, so welcome to day 2 of the Kagutsuchi build log. I guess I'm going to turn this into a sort of rolling review of all of the parts as I go along and continue to build this. So let's start with the main board, as I stop the aperture down a bit here. So let's start with this main board. Now, I have actually a complaint about them, which I guess number one, I should update the spec list, because it's now going to rock 32 gigs of DDR4 3200. I just couldn't pass it up at the price it's at right now. Memory tends to fluctuate in price. And you see I have the processor installed, I've got the memory installed. Basically, my main board is ready to go into my computer now. But that's actually what I'm going to talk about right now. I want to point out this menu is pretty abysmal. It looks really pretty, in theory it looks pretty, it looks like it belongs to this main board, but in actuality it's an in general main board manual. It doesn't really talk a lot about this specific main board, and one of the things I wanted to talk about is these actual screws. So as you can see, there's these little metal beauty ring things in the bag, an Allen key, and then there's also, if you look closely enough, some non-conductive washers. Now, I'm almost 100% sure you're supposed to be putting the non-conductive washers in there, but like how the manual even mentions that. In fact, the manual only has one blurb about those screws in it, and that's under the included parts list. That's not good, in my opinion. It's just really not. They should really have included more about that, to warn any maybe less experienced user to not just put those metal beauty rings on the holes, because while those holes, I don't know how much clearance is around them, but I am not 100% sure I would be just going and throwing the beauty ring on them to begin with. Beyond that, I actually almost had to revise the spec list in another way, because, sorry, just go into manual focus here, because I had a hard time getting this to fit. The Corsair H110 that I originally spec'd. I ended up having to do this in a pull configuration instead, and I'm manually focusing at the moment, so please forgive if my focus is pretty bad and everything. It did not fit correctly in the case because of this little lump right here. I would recommend to people who are out there looking, maybe stick with the Kraken if you're running the NZXT H440, which, as you can now see, is on my desk and essentially just waiting to have the motherboard installed. The other thing I'm going to note is that size-wise, it's a little tighter than I originally had thought. In some ways, maybe I'm regretting I did not go with a better or a bigger case, not a better case. But I like the attractiveness of it. And for people who are maybe on the fence about buying it, one of the things that has me, and this is despite me doing a little bit of research here, and everything, there is not exactly a ton of clearance in here. I mean, those tubes for the heatsink aren't going to be in that location, but still, it's a little tight in here. You probably wouldn't be able to do much bigger than this card, obviously, so anything like a 295X2 or something would obviously be out. But anyways, I thought I'd throw this up real quickly. I didn't get to work on it much today. I was feeling a bit under the weather. But I hope you guys enjoyed it, and it is starting to look really cool. So everyone just have a nice day and everything.